Hey guys, what's going on? It is Wednesday, March 18th. Got a pickup video for you. I know I had an unboxing yesterday of Awakened Fate Ultimatum Collector's Edition. Yeah, so I went around, did some hunting, had some pretty cool pickups. Nothing, and one amazing pickup. First off, I have this isn't a game, but it's definitely game related, the PlayStation 3 Play Beyond Welcome to the PlayStation Network Blu-ray, and I think this was Sony's way of getting people to jump on board Blu-rays way back when the PS3 launched. I remember when the PS2 came out, they did the same thing. You could get a welcome DVD to put in your PS2, and I think it was just to get people familiarized with the format. So yeah, I've never seen this, and I'm actually going to check it out and watch it and see what it's like. So yeah, that was $2.99 over at Salvation Army. Then over at St. Joseph's, there was a pretty massive haul of games. First up, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas for the PS2. I know I just got the special edition version, and I mentioned that in a recent pickup video. But upon opening it while I was in the store, and I'm glad I did this in the store before I left, no game. However, the artwork, map, and manuals are here, and the map is pristine. The map poster is pristine. So the woman behind the lady that worked there said, "You can have it for 25 cents." And I was like, "Are you sure? Because I'd still give you half the price." And she's like, "No, 25 cents. The game's not there. You're basically paying for a case and some paperwork." And I couldn't explain to her enough that the paperwork is actually valuable to have. So if I find a loose copy, I'll complete it. Otherwise, I'm going to swap it out with my copy of San Andreas, just for the sake of the other stuff I have is a little bit ragged. So anyway, all these games were $3, by the way. All the rest of these were $3. Oh wait, no, I take that back. One of them was $2. Minority Report. Everybody Runs. This is actually a fairly good game, clearly inspired by, at the time, it's not stealthy, but the control and combat is similar to a Metal Gear and Splinter Cell, definitely inspired by that sort of thing. Wait, I don't know if it could be Splinter Cell. Splinter Cell I don't think was out at the time. But one of the things, you can buy new moves and health and upgrades from the black market. The black market mechanic reminds me of the black market similar to Dark Sector, which if you haven't played Dark Sector, you can track down a new copy for like $5 or $6. It's well worth it. It's about an 8 to 10 hour game. Pretty decent story, and actually the story of Dark Sector plays into that current free to play MMO, Warframe. So there's ties to both those story arcs. Anyway, back to Minority Report. Everybody Runs. I actually rented this quite a bit when it was out, and enjoyed it. And I remember it got not amazing reviews, not glowing reviews, but basically slightly above average. Everybody's saying, it's competent at what it does. It's not going to set the world on fire. But sometimes that's all I want from a video game. I just want it to be good at what it does. It doesn't have to be the greatest game of all time. I just want it to be fun. That's the whole point of playing these things, right? Is to just have fun playing them, and I had a lot of fun playing Minority Report. I don't recall beating it, though, so that might be one that I throw into beat. Up next, Need for Speed Most Wanted. Pretty fun racing game. As I've said before, I don't really care for the realistic racers, but Need for Speed has never been high on the realism, and this one's complete in box. Yeah, I'm obviously going to play a little bit of it. Like I said, a lot of the games that like a lot of the games that I've picked up, I'll play them for at least a couple hours just to see what they're about. If I don't like them, I just seal them up, put them back into my collection, and if I really don't like them, I just trade them off. Right, one more. This was also supposed to be $3, but it is disc only, and I explained to her that I would have to track down the paperwork, which she gladly said. Okay, I'll take $2 for it. I don't usually do that, but even the case is chewed up, so I said Once I explained to her that I'll probably have to repair the disc, and there's no paperwork here, no manual, no cover for Dead to Rights 2. She was okay with that. She said lots of times when they get games like this, in cases they don't sell, and I don't blame people for not wanting to buy them. A lot of people don't know where to go to get replacement manuals. I happen to have a website that I go to get replacement manuals and whatnot and paperwork, and they do a really good job of it. So that's Dead to Rights 2. I absolutely love Dead to Rights 1. I've never even played Part 2, so that might be something I'd jump into pretty quickly here. Up next, this one was a buck for NHL 95 for the Sega Genesis. I'm actually going to complete... I have fond memories of playing NHL when I was a kid, when I played hockey. Whenever there'd be a weekend tournament, we'd all pile into one hotel room, usually mine because I had a Sega Genesis, and just have massive NHL hockey tournaments. So I have the original NHL hockey, NHL 95, and NHL 96. I probably can complete the entire run of the Genesis collection fairly cheaply. When I do stumble across them at thrift stores, they usually ask 50 cents to $1 for them. And I'm sure if Rock 30 has them, they're asking in the same ballpark prices. I think 95, key thing about the NHL 95 for the 94-95 season is it's got the GM mode, so you actually have to offer a reasonable trade. I remember in the old games, you could when they had trading. I think 93 or 94 introduced trading, but you could just send a player. Because I remember I can't remember which one it was. You could send like a package, like you could convince the computer to take 3 fourth-line players for like Pavel Bure in the old games, and they would take it, and it was just like, yeah, that would never happen. And the other key thing about NHL 95, which would have been for the NHL 94-95 season, is it is the only season in NHL history to go 84 games as opposed to their standard 82. And I'm actually on board with dropping it down to like 78 or even 72, because I love the NHL, absolutely love hockey. The Blackhawks are my jam. But man, I don't have any interest in... Chicago is a little different, being that they're centrally located, so there's a little more just regionality to it. But who in their right mind wants to see the Islanders play the Canucks? Who cares? Like, really, let's get rid of some of those cross-conference games. Enough about that. Anyway, on to Goodwill, and I picked up a bunch of stuff there. First up, Looney Tunes Back in Action, single-player Looney Tunes game. I actually like these old cartoon games because I grew up in an era of, you know, Saturday morning cartoons, yeah, which they don't do anymore, but I grew up in an era of that, and so I'm glad to get Looney Tunes Back in Action. It is obviously a platformer. The game itself looks pretty gorgeous, because I've said this before, games that maintain a cartoony look, being that they aren't striving for realism like a lot of the shooters and action games, I find that they hold their age a little bit better, just because they're not going for realism. They're not striving to look like look like real life. And another cartoony game is Donald Duck's Going Quackers, and you might laugh at this, but I actually played the hell out of this when it was out. It came out on both PS1 and PS2. This was fairly close, if I remember correctly, to the launch window. It's you're rescuing Daisy. You know, it's a standard video game damsel in distress thing. Who cares, right? But it's fairly cartoony. You know, collectibles, etc. platformer. But I actually played the hell out of this when it was originally out. It was a heavy rental for me from Hollywood Video, I remember, and I actually had a blast. This one I did beat, but it's been so long. I do remember beating it. It's been so long. It's not particularly ridiculously challenging or anything like that, because clearly it's aimed at a younger market than me. Even when this game came out, it was aimed at a younger market than me. But yeah, it's a reasonably long game too. I remember like probably 6 to 8 hours for 6 to 8, maybe 10 hours for completion. I think if you gathered everything you could, it would be a solid 8.5, 9, 10 hour game. Then pick this up. My buddy Ethan is a huge Crash fan, and he told me that Twin Sanity is actually a really good game. I have never played it, but I'm glad to pick it up. Crash Twin Sanity. It looks like their effort to make Crash an edgier character, like he's a little more aggressive. And I'm assuming that this was their attempt. Everybody after Grand Theft Auto came out was jumping on the open world, and even if a game wasn't open world, they'd have pseudo open world stuff, and yeah. So all of those are complete in box except for Looney Tunes Back in Action. I'll have to track down a manual for that. But then I don't have this. Glad to get it. It is the first Spider-Man. I know it's not particularly rare or hard to find, but it's complete in box. Disc is in great shape. Yeah, it's got the Green Goblin in it. It's based on the first Spider-Man movie, obviously. These are rare exceptions. These games still hold up. Mainly because there hasn't been really since Spider-Man 1 and 2 for the Xbox and PS2, there hasn't been a really great. There's been a couple of good, but the first two Spider-Man games based on the movies were really good, and I'd go as far as to say great. And Spider-Man 2 is probably the best that the series ever did. I know this past Spider-Man game was a train wreck. I remember reading or hearing on a podcast that free is about right for the price of that game, which made me laugh. So, and then last but not least, this is one of my favorite games ever, favorite series definitely, and this is Crash Nitro Kart, Crash Team Racing, and Tag Team Racing. Those three games alone probably played close to 1,000, maybe 2,000 hours of those games. Absolutely love them. And I would go as far as to say, with the exception of Mario Kart on the Game Boy Advance, I would put Crash Team Racing ahead of every other Mario Kart. People can be mad at me for that, but honestly, Crash Team Racing is a phenomenal kart racing game. I felt like the challenges were more challenging and more rewarding than the Mario stuff. That said, I also felt that it controlled better. The dual analog sticks on the PS1 were way better. Were a big step up from the N64 controls and even the D-pad controls on the Game Boy Advance. But I'm super excited to get Crash Nitro Kart. I know my sister is a huge Crash racing fan as well. Interestingly enough, neither of us were huge Crash Bandicoot fans and the platformers, but the Crash racing games we played a ton of. Then there was one other new pickup for the week, and that is, I'm going to say this just to bother my buddy Mitch. So Mitch, if you're watching, it's Final Fantasy Type O. I know it's actually Type 0, but I enjoy teasing Mitch about it. This is the Day 1 edition, which interestingly enough, our Best Buy was out of for both consoles. I got the last copy for the PS1, for the PS4. I got the last copy, and as I was there, somebody was buying up the last copy for the Xbox One. Our Best Buy was completely out of. I think there's going to be a run on this Day 1 edition because it has the playable demo of Final Fantasy 15, very similar to Zone of the Enders having the Metal Gear Solid 2. The difference is they've actually way back with Zone of the Enders 1 and Final Fantasy Type O, Mitch. They packed in a playable demo in with a pretty good game. Actually, Zone of the Enders 1 and 2 are probably two of my favorites ever on the PS2. I played a ton of those. I absolutely love, and I'm not even like one of these guys that's into the mech shows or mech combat or anything, but it just was handled so well and so beautifully that I'm definitely glad they packed in a Metal Gear 2 thing in that, which is funny. Vividly remember popping in Zone of the Enders and being so floored with the game that I forgot that I had a demo for Metal Gear 2. So yeah. Final Fantasy Type 0. Picked that up, as well as the Awakened Fate Ultimatum. And the big pickup of the week, not a steal in terms of price, but not a bad deal either. Buddy Aaron calls me and says, hey, you got any interest in this? Shoots me a text and sends me a picture. And it is a ice blue N64. I know that it's missing the door. I've already picked one of those up. It's got the power pack. It didn't come with any AV cables, which Aaron was like, oh, I'm sorry. And I said, it doesn't matter. Every time I see the Nintendo branded AV cables have been donated at a thrift store, I buy them. There's been a couple of times where I bought every one that they had, which was 3. There's Gandalf again, making his presence known. He enjoys sitting on my chair right here, so every once in a while he pops in. You can see him in the screen right there. Let's see. There he is. Hey, Gandalf. What's up, buddy? We'll leave it like that for the rest of the thing, since he enjoys being right there. Anyway, my buddy Aaron shoots me a text. I buy this from him. I have all the cords myself, and I'm gonna pick up an expansion pack this afternoon, in fact. And it will be, I will probably use this as my daily player one over my, it's right over there. The N64 in the box kind of got a weird look to it because one of the lights is right there, so the camera's picking up the glare pretty good. But yeah, glad to get everything that I got this week. So let's do a quick recap. Ice Blue N64, Final Fantasy Type 0, NHL 95, Dead to Rights 2, Need for Speed Most Wanted, Minority Report, Everybody Runs, San Andreas, just the case and paperwork, Play Beyond, Welcome to PlayStation Network, PS3 Welcome Disc, Crash Nitro Kart, Spider-Man, Crash Twinsanity, Donald Duck Going Quackers, and Looney Tunes Back in Action. And last but not least, I haven't made any mention of this. This has nothing to do about Kentucky. This is a band from locally called Kentucky Sound Arsenal. They're not around anymore. Those 2 kids were, on top of being phenomenal musicians, were whip smart. So they're, I think James the drummer is running a company, and Nick is going for his doctorate or something like that. So yeah, they're 2 incredibly smart kids, but they made awesome instrumental heavy metal. Nick is a phenomenal guitarist to this day, and James was an amazing drummer. It was like thunder and lightning. It was like the perfect storm. They were the perfect storm of a rock and roll band, especially for just locals that nobody knew about. But they're phenomenal. They have a Reverb Nation page. If you go to reverbnation.com and search Kentucky Sound Arsenal, you'll find them, I guarantee it. And I have used a couple of their songs in my pickup videos. So yeah, check out Kentucky Sound Arsenal. One of the other bands that's been in here is my buddy's band Strap Hanger. I've made mention of that before. And last but not least, the last few pickup videos, the music was from a band called The Basements. That probably doesn't mean anything to you. It means a lot to me because I played bass in that band. All of us have gotten older, and the other 2 guys from the band have kids and whatnot. I do not. But I'm putting it out there. Doug and Dominic, summer of 2017, we will have a 20-year reunion coming up. Let's get back together and do a proper Basements rock and roll show, which a proper Basements rock and roll show means there's going to be a lot of people falling over fucking drunk, but I don't think we'll get too many more times to do this, so let's get together. I obviously have a venue we can play at, obviously have the gear. Let's do it summer of 2017. I think if any of our classmates saw this video, I think they'd be up for it. They'd be up for a Basements rock show. So yeah, I don't really care about going to the reunion itself, but with everybody back in town, it gives us a perfect excuse to play. So Dom, if you still got your drum set, Doug, if you still got the PV Festival Series head and that amazing 115 cab. I still have all my gear, obviously, and that full PA setup. Let's do a show summer of 2017. Otherwise, thanks for watching my pickup video. Still pushing for 50 subscribers. Gandalf the Cat says thanks for watching, and so do I. So comment, rate, subscribe. We'll see you later, guys.